Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Gunn Show, my friends. Today, I have a great show and I'm happy to be here. I apologize for the singing, but when you have great guests, you got to get in the mood, right? And I have Jeremy Nelc and I have Erik Johnson today. We are going to talk a little bit about an incredible book recently released called The 5E Effect. The 5E Effect, what is it about? I know you're asking, even though I can't hear you, I can just read your minds. You guys are amazing. Thank you for asking that question. The book is a guide targeted at helping the small to mid-sized companies implement servant leadership with a proven turnaround formula developed with over 50 years of combined manufacturing experience. Yes, believe it or not, as young as these guys look, both Jeremy and Erik combined have over 50 years of experience. However, before we get to that book, let me just say, the Gunn Show is not about weapons. It's not about muscles. I don't have either of those, even though these guys have both, perhaps. I guess we'll find out in a little bit. And we always like to start this show off with a little story about their journey. So, with that being said, Jeremy, if you wouldn't mind, starting as far back as you can remember, and then as Jeremy starts to segue off, Erik, if you could pick up right there and kind of move in, I'll take stories from both of you. And then we'll just keep on keeping on, my friends. So thank you so much both for being here. This is the Gunn Show.
Thanks for having us, Tony. I grew up in northern Minnesota and played hockey naturally because you're either playing hockey or being made fun of, or playing basketball. One of the three options, basically.
Right.
So up where it's cold. And when I got into manufacturing, it was actually in high school up there working in a window manufacturing company just down the street from me. And that was around the same time I was also learning machining and welding and fabrication and stuff in high school. And that's what really drew me to manufacturing, is just seeing you'd go out there and one day making a couple hundred units off of a line. And then the next day, hey, our target's 300 or 400, in my mind, my mind was racing. I'm like, imagine if you could be making 400 units every single day with the same amount of capital and the same people. It just blew my mind, the organic growth possibility within manufacturing, and kind of sent me down that path. And then I went into tool and die making, and then went from there to deciding to go into getting a bachelor's degree in industrial technology, which is industrial engineering and management. And then my first job out of college was with Alcoa at a turnaround facility that they had just purchased, that's where Erik and I first met. And we were there for a few years working with some amazing people. So we had people with multiple patents, people with PhDs, some amazing servant leadership type managers there that really kind of set the tone for both of us in our careers. And, I went down the road from there and got into sales. I've been selling cutting tools primarily the last 14 years, heavy application oriented, automotive, high volume, been all over the country, been to several other countries. I think one year I was in 35, 40 states, just crazy amounts of travel. But then, so here I am today with my family. We've relocated to Arkansas, and there's not a huge manufacturing base here. And, I've been doing the cutting tool thing for a long time. So Erik and I have been talking about this book idea for a number of years, and it's like, hey, here's our time to do this. And we've been putting our heads together and getting this together for quite some time.
That's incredible, man. What a great segue into Erik taking off and sharing a little bit about his story. What a journey. But before we do, Erik, if it's okay with you, how did you enjoy all that travel? Because that's actually an extensive part of my life right now, and I enjoy it. But I can understand why somebody might step away and go, I'd like to be home a little bit more. You know?
I actually got out of engineering, and I looked at my schedule I looked at my planner for about 3 months at the time. It was nuts. I was all over the place, and my overnight travel was like 86%. But hey, who's counting, right? It was nuts. When you're younger, it's easier. You don't get as tired. I see what you're doing, and I know what you're going through. It's amazing, but at the same time, it's grueling. I see all the pictures that you're posting on LinkedIn and everything, and I'm just like, man, I've been there, done that. I understand it. Those people that say, man, that sounds great. They haven't done it. They probably couldn't hack it, because I ran into those people all the time, and I was just like, no, it's tough. I went into sales to travel less.
Great experience though, isn't it? We get
Oh
to
yeah,
learn a lot when
absolutely.
we surround ourselves with that type of environment.
And
Exhausting, but a lot to learn.
that's the thing I see about what you're doing. Like this industry, machining in particular and manufacturing, you could spend 100 lifetimes in this business and you'd still know this much about this massive amount of information that's out there. It's just absolutely never ending, and there's a million different ways to do every one thing. So it's just, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know a lot.
You're so incredibly right. And one of my favorite things through time and realization, when I was younger, I knew everything. Of course, we all did, right? When we're 20, we know everything. But what I've realized through time and what I was educated on is that the distance between the known and unknown is just so much more vast than the most intelligent to the least intelligent person on this planet. So let's just not judge each other for that distance, because what we actually don't know is so much more vast. So with that being said, Erik, let's move on to you and share your story. I know you have a great journey as well, and you have some wonderful compassion, not just for the industry, but outside the industry for some humans as well. I'd love to share some of that story with the audience if you're open to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to do so and to talk with you. Yeah, I was born and raised West Michigan, um, tall, skinny kid, acne, and actually ended up going to different school every year all the way until seventh grade. So I lived in some rough neighborhoods, I had a pretty rough upbringing. And then I hit high school, got fast and strong. So started playing football, and some of that stuff kind of went away, but it did. That experience really allowed me to see and feel that experience, so I could help people later on down the road deal with some of those things. But had my son actually in high school, went off to play football at Fair State University with my son. He grew up on the sidelines with me. So my wife and I at the time, we were going to college. We were going to class every other day, and then he would come off to practice with me. So pretty busy. Pretty busy time through college. My dad owned a small die-cast shop in West Michigan. My stepdad did, and so my summers were pretty much spent running die-cast machines and learning the industry from the bottom up. So that was a really good experience. And like Jeremy said, we started Alcoa together. I learned a lot of really cool stuff from a technical standpoint and process standpoint. That's really where I learned. I started coaching my son's football, and I really started understanding myself, what kind of leader I was. And that's kind of what you alluded to. My passion is developing people and whoever I come in contact with inside of work and outside of work. So like I mentioned earlier, I grew up in some rough part of town. So as I got older, I took that opportunity to go back into the community, and I mentor at-risk youths in the city of Grand Rapids, a couple different families that I work with, and helping them navigate some of those issues. But like I said, that human side of it's really where I've worked at places and I've ran places and I've had a lot of success, a lot of stuff and data I can throw at you in figures. But really my success is that when I walk into a plant, I truly care about those people, and they can see that on my sleeve. I wear my emotions on my sleeve when I go in there, and I really honestly truly want to see these people be successful. And I don't care what it is. If they want to be a plant manager, let's put something together and help you be a plant manager. If you don't want to work here and you want to do something outside of here and start a business, let's figure that out. I'll help you do that. But really diving into the human side of it. And then all this other stuff that's great, Six Sigma, Lean, all of those fancy buzzwords, Alcoa businesses and Toyota, all that stuff is great. But it's built on this foundation of using the individuals as props or assets versus the human side of it. You're really on uneven footing, rough ground, in my opinion. So I really spent the latter half of my career really going in and being intentional about developing the people around me. And again, not just here in my community, getting into community and talking about the things we're talking about, right? The skills gap and getting into these schools and these areas and helping these families and these kids understand that there's options out there and it doesn't have to be some of the stuff that we see on the news. But these guys need men around them, helping them and coaching them and showing them that there's other options out there. So I really have a lot of passion for that, and it spills over into the workplace and has allowed me a lot of success.
Established in 1998 and located in Barrie, Ontario, Canada, AeroX Technologies is a manufacturer of mist collectors and industrial air purification systems. With a mission to create a superior product in an industry where subpar performance was previously normalized, AeroX specializes in compact machine mount mist collection solutions as well as central industrial air purification systems. Both are equipped with progressive and fiber-bed filter technology for industry-leading filter life and the ability to tackle the most demanding applications. AeroX air purification systems can be found in production facilities, schools, and medical offices across North America. I think that there's a lot of authenticity in the industry we work in. Where there's, the industry is a large creative industry, but it's also small enough that if we dump on each other, people are going to find out. People realize real quick who's real and who's not. And so inside the industry, we need to be authentic and real and honest. And business ethics are important, but it often seems like when we get out in the real world, not that the industry is not the real world, but we get out into the open world and we forget about what it's like to be human and compassionate. And so to take that and to help at-risk kids and to take that love for humanity as a whole, that's the long-winded version of me just saying thank you. But also based on this, you being a skinny kid and growing up much stronger and playing football and kids playing in college, this could be the Gunn Show about muscles, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I've like I said, I had that skinny kid complex, so it was all about getting weight on. So I worked hard at that.
Well, I know we're here to talk about a lot of different things, but most importantly, to talk about this book. And before we get into the details of what the book offers to whoever reads it, and kind of resonates with what you guys have put together, I'd like if both of you could share the inspiration as to the creation of it. Why, if I'm looking at the cover of the book as I'm walking through an airport, or if I'm walking through Barnes and Noble, and I look at the cover and I go, I remember that podcast. I remember that name. There's a reason why I'm supposed to read this. What's the inspiration that each of you had? And Jeremy, I'll let you go first. And if Erik, if you pick up afterwards, I would love to hear a little bit more about that inspiration.
When we originally came up with the idea, we were both in a situation, both of us working in different plants, different roles, different scenarios, and we chatted a bit on the phone, and we're just catching up, touching base every once in a while. We've been friends, forever, but we came up with this idea about 2 years ago, and we're talking about this, and we're like, it's just not that hard. It just seems like everywhere you go, people overcomplicate this stuff. You make managing people so difficult, and people just forget the human aspect of all of it, and just be a good person and treat other people with respect and dignity, and everything else will fall in order. And Erik had been from company to company and walked in and just knocked it out of the park, like literally within a year, cranking up their EBITDA 50 to 100%. So he developed this perfect game plan. And I've done similar things in sales growth as well, and him more so in operational improvements in manufacturing. So we started talking about it, and we're just like, we should do something with this. We should put something together that we can share with people. And we kind of muddled around with it for a while. First we were like, let's write a book, and then it was, let's do some online training, or 'cause we were kind of all over the map, and we wanted something that's going to be affordable to anybody and easy to get. So if somebody's just a team leader in a plant, making an okay, decent amount of money, but not making a lot of money, they can afford to just see a well thought out, put together game plan in order to do their job better and to be better at what they do and improve. And I think that's really kind of how it all started out. And that was our original intention, was just to put something out there that people can benefit from, based on all of the, School of Hard Knocks, working through a lot of tough situations and a lot of amazing situations as well. And just sharing it and just kind of unpacking it all in one place where it's kind of a game plan on how to run a business and do well.
Very nice. And Erik, was your perspective the same, or is there did you guys kind of do this together because there's a multifaceted way to combine this book and create it?
I think it's pretty much in line with what Jeremy said. Jeremy's definitely more linguistically talented than I am, so that was he helps get what's in this head out onto paper, and that's been a challenge for him, I'm sure, because I'm not the easiest guy to get some of that stuff out of. Not because I don't want to, but it's not who I am. But yeah, like Jeremy said, going to these plants, and we've been in them, that you go in there and the owner or the manager, whoever it is, they want results. They want to see this. They want to see physical things changing in the plant. And back to that whole thing, getting in there and making it simple, helping the people. They're just like you and I, right? It seems to get lost. It seems like such a simple idea, but it seems to be very difficult to execute. Treat people just like you want to be treated, right? Like Jeremy said, respect, dignity, helping them understand. And big part of this is putting the tools, training them and putting the tools in their hands to help them be successful.
Centuries old terminology, right? Treat others like you want to be treated. It's a full circle type of atmosphere. And we all need a good Jeremy in our lives, right? To help us convey messages that we'd like to convey, I've realized that a lot of people are smarter than me, but if I can be a voice box for the introverts, then that's kind of part of my gig. You feel the same way, Jeremy?
It's funny you say that, because I was the introvert. And when I was in engineering, I was tasked with training people in operations, quality, dye maintenance, all different departments. And it was really difficult for me to start with. And when I went to grad school, I still remember some of those bombed speeches that I gave. And it's something that came with all those years of being in sales. Then I had to make it work. I've always been really, what I did to make it work in the beginning was I just copied the people that I loved to work with. My vendors that I bought stuff with that were good to work with. Really what it's all about in sales is you provide value to that person. You make their job easier. Hey, I'm here. Give me what you're struggling with, and I'm here to fix it for you. It's not, hey, I need an order for, whatever. It's about you solve their problem for them. And you see so many companies coming at it the wrong way. It's all about, it's all about our product. It's all about this. Look at us. Here's our history. I'm here to tell you, nobody cares. Nobody cares. People care about what you can do for them. It's all about how you can help them. That's what sales is supposed to be, which is no different than servant leadership. You're effectively taking the same approach that you should be taking in a manufacturing plant, working with your people on the floor, helping them be successful because they're going to make you look good. And if you're a salesperson, you're helping your customer look good. And then everybody wins.
Yeah, I agree. That's very well said. And I like that you didn't start as a extroverted straight A public speaker, right? You had to go through the wash a little bit. Matsura Machinery USA Incorporated, located in St. Paul, Minnesota, is a U.S. subsidiary of Matsura Machinery Corporation in Japan. Since 1935, Matsura has been the forerunner in designing innovative technology and manufacturing solutions to a variety of industries around the globe. Matsura Machinery USA Incorporated delivers unmatched excellence in 5-axis, vertical, horizontal, linear motor, multitasking CNC machine tools, and machines with a powder bed metal AM platform with machining capability. Matsura Machinery USA Incorporated provides the service, applications, and technical field support that have always been the Matsura standard for business. For more information on Matsura products, please contact marketing@mattsurausa.com or visit mattsura.com. So based on what you've both kind of said right now about the inspiration, and now we've moved on to a little bit, further into the topic itself, have we started to dive into what information I'm going to receive from the book? Once I dive in and I start reading, I'm several chapters in, what am I going to learn? What am I going to gain? Because as you've already mentioned, being solution based, offering education instead of just a product, that's the way we work together, right? And I love the term, student teacher or servant teacher, both. Where this conversation is back and forth, right? I get to learn from you. I get to be a student. I can also teach when the time arrives. And be in servitude. I mean, Erik's already mentioned what he's done for his local community. That it seems ingrained in you guys already, and now you're just kind of throwing it on paper and said, "Hey guys, as much as we'd love to go into every office around the country at 85% of the year, we have it on paper now, so you can check it out." So as I read it, and as this long-winded statement gives you enough time to think about what you want to say, as I dive into the book, what am I going to find?
Well, really, a big piece of the introduction, it's a really long introduction because it's unpacking why servant leadership is such an amazing thing. We talk a lot about companies like Southwest Airlines, for instance. That's one that I find can be very easily related to manufacturing, because I've seen the same thing in high volume automotive facilities where they're like, "Hey, we have all these Makino A51s or A61s. Now look at this. I got a machine for 50 grand less." And if you look at Southwest Airlines, for example, the reason they've been so successful is they picked one jet and they ran with it. Now you have every single stewardess, every single pilot, every single mechanic, they can all work on that jet. They're all certified to operate it. There's none of this, giant airline industry conglomerate that's running 15 different jets. You know that a manual for a jet for maintenance is hundreds of thousands of pages, and you have to be certified to work on it or fly it or to be a stewardess. And that's one of the things we unpack is, think long term. And it's that old penny wise pound foolish thing. Don't think you're saving a few bucks when you will pay for it dearly. And I always think about it from a technology standpoint too. If you don't make the right investment into the right things, people are like, "Oh, that's too much money." It's like, well, you're going to pay for it again and again and again and again until you decide to do it. It's like machine monitoring or, stuff like that. Some of this amazing new RP technology and stuff like that's coming out. You look at all of that and it has huge implications on your business. It can make you so much more efficient. So the longer you wait to do it, it's like you have this opportunity. You have a handful of sand and it's just running through your fingers the longer you wait to actually do it. And we spend a good bit of the front end of the book kind of unpacking why do it, what it looks like today. We already know what most people are struggling with and what it could look like in a very reasonable amount of time. Within several months, you could be, blow your mind how much better you could be operating. And then we go through and we unpack it step by step. Here's the first things you work on. And it's that connect with your people, get to know your people, understand them. And it's like Erik said, hey, if they don't want to be here, if they aspire to go start a business or, go work for a nonprofit somewhere else, that's good. Help them. They're not helping your business by being there and not being engaged in your business. So if they don't want to be there, you don't want them there either. It's actually better for everybody. If somebody wants to do something different, help them. Don't be upset at them. And if they go and try something else and they want to come back, that's great. If they realize what they had after they left, that's fine. Take them back. You have to be looking at that people component. And then we get into the execution and some of the tools. And it's just really what we do when we work with people is we take about 30 to 60 days to really just unpack all of this stuff. do surveys, work with them on figuring out what their situation is and exactly what it is that they need. And, there's not a one size fits all thing. Manufacturing is complicated. So, how we talked about things can be so much done so many different ways. You have to understand the circumstances, because there's a lot of capital, there's a lot of tribal knowledge, there's a lot of different training levels and complexities within how they make stuff. So you need to understand the business and work within the constraints and use what they already have more effectively before you start worrying about coming in and, let's put in a new ERP and a new machine monitoring system today. First thing, it's like, no, you figure out what you have first and work how to work with it and then go from there. And we really lay all of that out. And then kind of the final part of it is, manufacturing, of course, in and of its nature is very, very, it's highly redundant. You're making the same automotive part thousands every single day. Or, a smaller job shop might be doing a few hundred here or whatever, but they're always struggling with changeovers, right? We see the same things everywhere you go, and you have to be able to figure out a way to keep it all fresh. And Erik has a really nice system with how to keep people going once you get through those first several months and things get better. It's the saddest thing that you see is when a company spends hundreds of thousands of dollars on consultants in a year, and they come in and turn the place upside down, get rid of people, bring in different people and all that, and then at the end of it, when they walk away, it all falls back apart. That gain that they made, they're only going to maintain 25 or 50% of it, because that person that beat it into submission and made it the way it was is gone now. And basically the essence of what we're telling people and teaching people is that use the people in the team that you have, educate them. Your managers need to understand that they work for the people on the floor. When the people on the floor have everything that they need in order to do their job, they're going to be successful. And if they're successful, you're successful. The company's successful. Everybody's successful. So your job is to help the people do as well as they possibly can. Make sure they have the training. Make sure they have all the tools they need to do what you expect. Make sure all of the everything's in alignment. Everybody needs to know what their role is, because you can't be mad at somebody for not doing something that you imagined in your mind, or not hitting a target that you didn't put in front of them and talk to them about, right? So it's all of that, just kind of, I know that it's a lot, but that's pretty much the book in a nutshell.
Oh, first, as the last comment you just mentioned, I wish that people didn't get mad for what we thought in our heads about what we expected from others. Wouldn't that be nice? But what I'm hearing from you, Jeremy, is a couple of common themes, and you spoke a lot, and there's so many valuable points. But there was a couple of things you hit on from different directions over and over again, from the bird's eye view of let's humanize and let's simplify. It really sounds like that's a lot. I think of different companies out there that have just, you mentioned the planes, right? I know machine companies out there that have so many different options, but that leads to so many different parts and so many different complications, right? But to find a place and to not have so many different areas, but to really find that place and be so great at that place that when that place comes up, every customer needs you, right? Like I'm seeing what you're talking about. I can visualize it with a lot of the customers I go into. Erik, is there anything you'd like to add to that? I know we can't keep you silent but too long. I know Jeremy wants to be your voice, but we're not gonna let you sit back but for so long.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I look at it like this. Obviously I'm a football player, right? So I look at it kind of like a football game. The typical system that I grew up in is at the end of the month, there's a scorekeeping meeting, right? Hey, you made this much profit. Your numbers were this high or this low. Shoot, now we're looking back. What did you do bad? Okay, and then we spent that week trying to figure out what that was. So like in a football game, right? You look at the scoreboard. I want to. Every player on the field is invested in each and every one of those plays. Every yard, they understand the concept, they understand the scheme, they understand their role in it, and they all move in unison to get that ball down the field. So that's kind of the approach I take at the shops that I'm in, is getting earning the people's trust on the floor so they can trust what's going on, right? That I trust the guy to my left and right on the football field to protect me, to do their job so I don't get blindsided or whatever that is. And then giving them the information and the power to make a business decision at 8 o'clock, 8:15, 9:37, 10:15 on a Tuesday, not keeping the score, like in a football game, you huddle up, you understand what's going on, you change the concept, you change the play, you have somebody helping out. Everybody's in unison trying to make this thing work, and bringing that same concept to a shop floor, making people feel valued, heard, understood, understand their role in it. And when you do that, all this stuff, like Jeremy said, the reason I've had so much success in such a short time, and what this book talks about, is getting all those people understanding their roles and where they fit into it. And this thing just cruises.
A valuable point, Eric. And if it's okay with you, I'm going to give a shameless plug real quick. And I hope you're friends with these guys as well. But I've done a lot of work with the guys over at Factory Wiz. And what you just said is something I hear from them all the time, because it's the part of the machine shop that's the unknown part, right? Whether it come from tribal knowledge or whether we just don't understand it. It could be the setup of work holding or tooling. It could be downtime for whatever it might be, or it could just be the process that it takes from taking a part from a machine and putting it over to the CMM before it gets measured. There's so much data that goes into it, and the software is set up to where it's not to blame anyone who's a part of that system that creates the red in the system, right? That creates that downtime. It's to have everyone on the same page, as you mentioned, like a football team, to go, okay, these are the plays. Here's what we're going to do. This is where we need to get better. This side of the line crashed last time, so let's run a sweep to the opposite side, or let's build up on that right side, whatever it might be, right? This is how these systems work also. And it's really cool that you guys have put this down into a book for people to understand. Is there anything else that you would like to add before I move on to the next topic of the book itself, about the book?
Well, the one thing that resonates with me that you just mentioned, we do unpack it in the book, but when you talk about machine monitoring, that's always something that my ears just perk up. It gets me excited. It's like, hey, let's get to paperless manufacturing, all these production reports. It does work if you have the right training and accountability and systems in place to mechanize the manual paperwork. It still works. It's always worked. A lot of really big companies that would blow your mind, I'm not going to say who they are, but
no shameless plugs from your side, Jeremy?
I'm not going to say anything, but there's some massive companies out there still using paperwork. And I'm just like, you guys have billions and billions of dollars sitting around to be invested in your business. Why is it not being put into this? But you see it endlessly. And then the thing that you see people doing, and one of the things that we have in a marketing piece that we wrote that we kind of have tucked away for later on, is people are going out and just buying more and more machines. We need to get more people in here. We need to expand. We need more equipment. And our question is, why? And do you really need that? Because what you see when you get into the numbers, almost every single time you go in and ask them, what's your OA? 70, 80%, right? What is it really? 20, 35%. And you're out there spending millions and millions of dollars buying equipment, expanding facilities, bringing more people in. Why? That's my question, is why? And Erik's been in that situation numerous times, same as I have. I have a really great story actually about, he went into a place and that's exactly what they said. First thing, oh, we need another one of these laser machines because we can't keep up. They had 2 machines. And he's like, okay. He's like, sure. All right, I'll check in the numbers. Let's talk about it. He runs the numbers. They were running like 30 or 40%. Like, we don't need another machine. We need to get our changeovers in order. You see in the small to mid-size market, you see a lot more changeovers than you do in the high volume stuff. And usually in the automotive industry, they have it down, pretty much pat. They have to. It's usually pretty solid. But in the small to mid market, you see people all the time fumbling around. They don't have their tooling ready to go for the next job. They don't have their fixturing out by the machine as that job ends and they're ready. They're just missing basic elementary things that all you have to do is put together a little organization and preparation. It's like you don't show up to the football game and then like, oh, I got to go home and get my gear. You're ready. Everything's ready. Your mindset's ready. Your body's ready. You got your equipment there. You have to do the same thing in production because the stakes are so high. You have on the low end $100 an hour shop rates, and I've been in shops where they have $10 million plus gantry 40-foot long CNCs that are billing out at $5-10 grand an hour. And you think about that, hey, we're not paying attention to our changeover times, and then we're adding on and buying more of that equipment. It just blows my mind.
How much money are we going to spend on people, machines, and real estate before we truly fine tune what we already have, right?
Yep. Either get it together or spend way more money and build a bigger parking lot. That's what I always tell people.
Jeremy, you are not wrong. We've seen some commonality there. It's just, the average shop spindle up time across the nation, and I've said this before, and you guys already know it, but let's just say it out loud anyways, an average of 40%, and if we think that we're at 80 or 90, most people are just lying to themselves. So let's not do that. Let's get down to reading this book and doing the right thing, saving some money, saving some real estate. The future of American manufacturing isn't a talking point or a pipe dream. It is here and now. Companies like Methods Machine Tools are hiring all across the country for positions ranging from entry level to service technicians and senior engineers. Methods Machine Tools is a CNC tool importer that prides itself on providing world-class service and support to manufacturers across North America. Methods has built a culture over 60 years as one of the best companies in the industry to work for, based around work-life balance, shared knowledge, and education. Learn more about Methods by visiting www.methodsmachine.com. So, where can I find it? How can I get in touch with you guys? Now we can do some shameless plugging on yourself as to where we can find you, how we can contact you, how we can learn more. Because I want to buy a book. I want to be the first person to buy a book if that's possible and has not already happened. I'd like to be number one.
No, we're pre-selling, so we'll have the full version out in January. But you can go to our website. It's the 5E Effect, the number 5, so the5eeffect.com. It has a summary of the book, cover. It'll direct you to Kindle, Amazon, and our contact information is there. We're working with a few folks just on a one-on-one basis. Really what we're trying to do is just keep it, small to start, work with a few folks, make sure that they have success before we start looking at advancing into more, more of the evergreen type training and stuff. But that's one of the things we've kind of been fighting. Is one of the things that I know personally for myself, and I know is true for 90+% of people out there. Have you ever bought an online self-study course and not done anything with it? Right. So we've had that ongoing conversation for a long time. So really what we're focusing on to start with is one-on-ones, small courses, live events. We're not doing anything that's just go look at this recording, because we don't want people to waste hundreds or potentially thousands of dollars going out there and just wasting their money not doing anything with it. You can get it really, really cheap in the book, and if you don't do anything with it, at least you don't feel bad about it.
Very fair. I like that a lot. Erik, is there anything you'd like to add before I close out this incredible podcast?
Just a little bit more, piggyback on what Jeremy said. We care about the people in the industry. We care about people. We care about the brothers and the sisters, around, and we just want to be there to help. We want to come alongside, show what we've learn from them as well too. But just be there. We're not just going to dump some stuff on guys and girls and just run. We want to be there and help them be successful.
I appreciate that. And for everyone who's listening, this is Jeremy and Erik. We appreciate you listening. Just to go back again, this is the 5E Effect. found at the number 5eeffect.com. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I nailed that just right because I'm already searching for it. I'm already getting ready to take one of those pre-orders, just so you guys know. Guys, you've both been excellent. I appreciate you conveying this message. I know it's going to help a lot of people. And like you said, to close that out as well, Jeremy, a small investment in a book could probably save hundreds of thousands of dollars at the end of the day, even just in real estate or tooling or people or insurance or whatever it might be. Ultimately, let's get that spindle turning. Let's create that success that we need. It's another incredible, amazing example of how we can reduce this skills gap. Instead of stretching ourselves thin, trying to find people that are going to come run a machine at 30%. And no offense to anyone out there in that situation, because we definitely want to employ as many people as possible and give people great livelihoods. But also, let's be fair, it's a national security risk right now, the amount of skills gap in engineering and manufacturing world. So books like this from Jeremy and Erik, thank you so much for continually educating our industry. Guys out there, gals out there, everyone out there, thank you so much for listening. This is The Gunn Show.